Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. It is Thursday morning, and you know what that means. We bring on the man, myth, the legend, Mr. Jonathan Twombly. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Hey, one of the things I wanted to do with you, because we really play in different markets, I'm certainly more residential, you're certainly big commercial, is we're both affected by interest rates, right? Interest rates drive behavior, cap rates, cost of money, all of these things. So I want to play two scenarios out for you for 2022 and kind of talk about what may happen in our respective fields. You ready?
Sure.
So the first one, there is a very well-known mortgage broker, I believe is his official title, but he's been predicting interest rates for years, actually won the Crystal Ball Award for his industry a couple of times, which no one else has done. His name is Barry Habib. Barry's come out very recently and said, the Fed's going to do what the Fed has always done. They're going to jawbone, they're going to talk, they're going to start raising rates, and then a la 2018 Q4, the market will eventually hiccup. In 18, it had a 20% correction, and then the Fed will just cut as like they did in 18, which was 3 successive cuts after that. So if that happens, and again, this is all just what if stuff, Barry is talking about 30-year rates, again, probably residential, but it rolls to commercial, getting back into the twos. So I know I have my thoughts on that, but I thought I would ask you, right? So if rates go up maybe for 6 months and then they come right back down by the end of the year, what, if anything, is impacted in your world, if at all?
Well, I mean, so what we'll have is kind of a roller coaster, right? I mean, we will have, certainly if rates go up, it'll do a couple of things. So one thing I'm not sure we've talked about that much is that the commercial loans come with pretty substantial prepayment penalties.
Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1s, and yep.
All kinds of different things. There are things that they're called like defeasance or yield maintenance, where your prepayment penalty is related to, it's basically inversely related to the interest rate. So if interest rates go up, this is actually good for you as a when you have yield maintenance, because the way this works is when these loans are securitized, right, as they almost all are, they're not balance sheet loans unless they're on, like, if you're dealing with a local bank, that's different. But if you're dealing with Fannie Freddie, if you're dealing with CMBS, if you're dealing with any of these kind of really large capital providers on the debt side, what they do is they originate the loans, then they securitize them and sell them to investors. And those investors are looking for a guaranteed stream of payments. Right. And even though the payments may be anemic because interest rates are so low and this, the spreads are thin, it doesn't matter, because that's what they want. They're looking for a highly secure, guaranteed streams of payments. And so these are, insurance companies and other institutions that need this kind of income. So what happens is, if you sell your property before the term is up, they want you to replace that stream of income. So you have to, if you have yield maintenance, as it's called, you have to basically write a check for the amount that you would have paid otherwise. If you have defeasance, you actually have to create an entity that owns treasury bills that are timed to expire on the dates of payment. Oh, wow. Right? So it's quite complicated. And what that means is that if the interest rates go up, that's great for you, because the T-bills that you have to buy cost less. If interest rates go down, then that's really bad for you, and your payment goes up because you've got to pay more for the same stream of income, right?
Makes sense.
So if interest rates go up, it will actually make it easier for some sellers to sell, because the cost of that, because that prepayment penalty is going to go down. And if interest rates, now, of course, the countervailing force there is that interest rates will go up for the buyers, right? But there might be kind of a happy medium in there where it goes up enough for certain sellers to not feel the pinch as much on that prepayment penalty. And it doesn't go up so much for buyers that they start, offering less.
Right.
So it actually, if there could be sort of like a magic, golden area where this actually makes more deals possible because it'll free up inventory. But it really depends. Like, because if interest rates go up too much, then what you'll find is that then we've talked about this before. The buyers will just get pinched, and unless the spreads compensate by, if the spreads compress to keep the end interest rate the same, if the end interest rate to the buyers goes up, it's going to make it harder for them to buy, right?
Yeah.
Now, if the scenario is correct, and then it goes back down again, I think what you'll see is, like, if the interest rates rise too quickly, it'll cause people to freak out and worry about where things are going. If it goes up gradually, maybe less so. But I think if it drops back down again, you'll just see a lot more capital pouring into the multifamily market once again, because again, that risk-free rate of return that you get from the treasury bill will be less. That means more money is going to come into multifamily, and it's just going to continue to drive the market the way that we've seen.
Yeah, this first scenario for me is, again, trying to use a story or analogy that most of us know is, somebody came in and spiked the punch bowl. They tried to take it away. Oh, we found another bottle of rum. Let's go put it back in the punch bowl and do it again. I don't, it just feels like more asset inflation. It feels like if you own assets, you win. And oh, by the way, if rates go to 2, it probably does a whole nother round of recycling and cash out refi and, all of that stuff. So I don't really like scenario 1, but scenario 2 might even be more painful. And that is, let's pretend Paul Volcker is there. He goes on a interest rate rising binge. Volcker actually raised rates 0.5 point over a weekend, which I didn't know had been done before. So let's say Volcker or someone like Volcker is in there. He takes Fed funds not to 1 or 2%, but let's say he takes it to 4%. 0.5 point jumps every meeting thereabouts, and we end the year at 4% on the short-term stuff. What do you think happens in your world? Because I know that impacts mine.
Oh yeah, I mean, so talking about 4% on the treasury.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, that's going to translate into 6% interest rates, where I'd say at least 5%, but more likely 5.5 to 6% on the the multifamily buy side. And I mean, that will impact the market tremendously, right? Because everybody has to borrow ultimately from the Fed at that interest rate, and they have to make money, so they have to have a spread, right? And so say bridge lenders can only adjust their lack of debt service coverage ratio so much. It will undoubtedly impact the market. I mean, it might cause the market to seize up for a while, frankly, if it went that high, because people have been so addicted to low interest rates. All the pricing is based on that. Everybody's assumptions are based on that. And if they really did, and frankly, there might be people who get foreclosed on at that point if they've got adjustable rate mortgages. That's going to be what a lot of people the last few years have been arguing, and I could never get comfortable with this, but arguing this idea that you should be taking adjustable rate mortgages right now because interest rates are low and they're going to stay low for the foreseeable future. And you can buy a rate lock if you want to. There will be people who would get their butts handed to them basically in that scenario. So I think that would be, for it to go up that fast would be devastating for the market.
Yeah, I think residential is the same. The key is not necessarily the height, although 4% for the Fed, 6% 30-year. The speed is what I think seizes up the market. I think the market freezes, and then probably, prices get hit for sure, but also creative financing comes back, right? Because there's a lot of people that'll have 30-year fixed rate loans at 2% or whatever.
Yeah.
That have to move. Because again, what'll happen, and let's be clear, the stock market gets hammered, crypto gets hammered, unemployment goes up. There is a way to beat inflation, and it's called a nasty recession.
Yeah.
And that would cause it.
Yeah, it absolutely would. And so the thing that you have to kind of research on this is, so look, we have low interest rates today because Ben Bernanke was a student of the Great Depression.
Right.
And the people who, most of the people who study the Great Depression, or at least the ones who have more influence, say the reason the Great Depression happened was because of lack of liquidity, because central banks did not act fast enough to provide liquidity to the market, and that caused the Great Depression. So Ben Bernanke, when he saw the financial crisis unfolding, was like, not letting that happen on my watch. We're just going to provide, all the liquidity that the market needs to not collapse. And they prevented a second Great Depression. Mm-hmm. Now the question is Powell a student of Paul Volcker or not, right? And if, so that's kind of, is Powell looking at Paul Volcker's example, mm-hmm. and does Powell want to, be remembered as the guy who crushed inflation, or does he not have the balls to do it? And like, we'll find out soon enough, I guess, right? But,
yeah, we're gonna find out. I think, again, something I've been calling for 6 months, and actually it's funny to see more and more people pick it up, is he's gonna raise it 0.5 point the first time in March 15th, March 16th. He's going to come out, act like Volcker. I just don't know that he has the stones to be Volcker come November, December. I don't know.
If it doesn't work, right? If it doesn't work, I think that's probably what they want to do, is shock and awe, right? Mm-hmm. To send a signal, but then hopefully, it's all the problem solves itself, and then they don't have to go further with more interest rate hikes. But look, the reason that Volcker they kept on raising rates is because it still wasn't working, right? They had to get it to the point where it was so painful, mm-hmm. that they basically caused a recession.
Yeah.
That was the only way to break the back of inflation.
Absolutely.
So,
both scenarios are kind of scary. And obviously I think the answer is somewhere in the middle, right? The taking rates to 4, that means the 30 years at 6 or more. That's a recession, probably a nasty one. Going up and back down to 2% kicks the can down the road, and I think we pay it with interest eventually. So it's going to be interesting times. So any other thoughts on this?
Well, just that, I mean, we've gotten ourselves into this terrible situation through this addiction to cheap money and lack of government discipline, right? And so, right, and we've financed the lack of government discipline with low interest rates. And now we've become addicted to it, and it's all been in service of trying to not have recessions, right? And and recessions are they're painful, but they're necessary. And we said it before, it's like forest fires, right? If you don't let the small forest fires come and burn up all the brush, which then leads to new growth, right? Mm-hmm. What you wind up happening with is what you have in California, where there's all this fuel lying around for a huge, conflagration to happen. Mm-hmm. You don't allow forest fires to happen, right? So it's the same thing. You don't allow mild recessions to happen, you're going to wind up with a doozy of one down the road. That's going to, so I think all this has been really short-sighted, and if the government wants to dull the impact of recessions, then they should just provide more support for people when recessions happen, and let the thing sort of play through, rather than trying to prevent, mm-hmm. Keep people from starving and losing their homes, but leave it at that, right? Don't do more to, and especially don't hand money to big businesses are just going to back stock and crap like that. So
zombie companies are bad. So yes, absolutely. This has been a lot of fun, Jonathan. How can people find you and get part of your world?
So there are a couple of ways you could do this. You could go to my website if you want to become an investor in my deals, and that is Two Bridges Asset Management, LLC. It's easier for you to Google it than for me to explain the URL. So just Google Two Bridges Asset Management, LLC, and you'll find me. Another way is if you want to talk about multifamily, go to the multifamily investment community on Facebook and ask to get in. So that's the other way.
Very cool. Thanks, Jonathan.
Yep.